has Modern Warfare Zombies already been cancelled? Or was there never any future content planned for it after Season 1? This sounds like kind of a weird thing to say because I think, like most people, I just assumed that Modern Warfare Zombies would go on for this entire year, at least for the first 5 seasons or so, just like DMZ did last year. I thought they'd keep on adding new content, maybe adding new maps, new missions, new cutscenes, new perks, field upgrades, enemy types, all of that stuff, right up until we started building up towards Treyarchs' next game. But there's been a few separate kind of hints and clues over the last couple of weeks that seem to imply, at least to me, that maybe we've had all of the content we're ever going to get for Modern Warfare Zombies. So I'm going to show you everything that I'm talking about, all of the kind of evidence or clues that we have, and I'll let you make your own mind up. But I think it's pretty convincing. I have reached out to my Activision contact to get a bit more information about this to kind of clarify what it all means, but I haven't had any response as of yet. If I do, I'll do an update in the description or in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can catch me streaming every weekday morning at about 9 o'clock UK time, and then I also do the UK Community COD nights from 7 o'clock UK time in the evening on a Friday. So hopefully I'll see some of you for that today. Right, so let's go back in time a bit. Last year, when we were all playing DMZ, and I say all, I mostly mean my audience, because I know a lot of you followed me because you saw me playing DMZ. We were playing DMZ, and when it got to Season 5, it felt like there wasn't much content. In early seasons, there felt like there was a bunch of stuff, you know, we got things like Building 21, we got Koshai Complex, they added missions to things like Ashika and Vondel, we were getting complete refreshes of the missions fairly regularly, entire new systems. It felt like there was tons of content for the first few seasons, and then as time went on, that kind of petered out, until we got to Season 5 where we barely got anything. When they started the advertising for Modern Warfare 3 and we had things like Call of Duty Next, they just weren't talking about DMZ at all. So yeah, I was pretty convinced at that point that DMZ was just going to be ending. And I'm fairly confident that I was right about that. I know there's still some holdouts that are saying, no, they're just saying that, you know, they're taking a bit of a break from new content for DMZ, but it's going to come back. I really don't think it is. Maybe, like, in the next Infinity Ward game, they'll do, like, DMZ 2 or something like that. We'll see. But I think DMZ is just as dead as Warzone Caldera was when Warzone 2 released. And I think there's plenty of obvious reasons why they would have done that. The main one is that not many people were playing it. It's very easy when you're kind of wrapped up in a community to think that everyone I know is playing this game, so it must be super popular, or this mode within a game. And I think that's what was happening with DMZ, where lots of people were only playing DMZ, and they knew lots of people that were playing the game, so they thought it was super popular. But in reality, I think it must have paled in comparison to things like Warzone or multiplayer, and that's why it just didn't get the support. That's why the support didn't continue. If it was super successful, if it was bringing lots of new people to the game, if people were spending huge amounts of time in there compared to other modes, I think obviously they'd put the investment in there, but it just wasn't happening, so the whole thing kind of got quietly shut down. Now, it feels like that's happening to Modern Warfare Zombies, but incredibly quickly. We're still in Season 1, we've only just had Season 1 reloaded, but it sounds a little bit like they're going through those same steps of just quietly shutting it down. So, the first thing that made me feel a little bit like this was in trouble was that when we had the Season 1 Reloaded blog post, they did have a Zombies section there, but there's only one new thing in Zombies for the Season 1 Reloaded patch, and that is the new Dockerby Warlord. So we knew when Legacy was a Warlord that there were going to be other Warlords. I think in the first couple of weeks, people found keycards for maybe multiple Warlords. So it seemed like there was definitely going to be some more Warlords in future, and that's definitely a thing they stayed true to, that like we had the Legacy Warlord for the first few weeks of Modern Warfare Zombies, then with Season 1 Reloaded it switched to Dockerby, so we had a new boss that took over the top of the skyscraper. It's quite a cool boss fight, I did a whole video on it, and also how to do it without having to find keycards, which makes the whole thing much faster, so check that out if you want to see it, but it's a pretty cool boss fight. The big thing that seems strange about it to me is that there's no new rewards. You don't get a blueprint from killing Dockerby, you don't get some kind of new wonder weapon, you don't get a schematic, you don't even get like a calling card or a loading screen or anything like that as far as I can tell. All you get is kind of some in-game loot, so you might get a durable gas mask or a kill streak or something like that. And you get a piece of contraband that is a unique weapon, but it doesn't save as a blueprint, so that kind of sucks as well. It just felt like a very kind of half-assed way of doing it, almost as if they already had the Warlord, but they didn't want to invest more time into integrating it into the game, maybe having some missions related to it, maybe having some special rewards for it. Instead, they just put it into the game, and that's that. And there's not really anything else for zombies in the Season 1 Reloaded patch. There's a couple of quality of life changes, like you can now choose to leave your squad, which is admittedly a pretty cool feature, but there's no new content as such, and content is the big thing that I thought Modern Warfare Zombies was missing since it came out, to be honest. Right when we first heard about Modern Warfare Zombies and it was kind of revealed, I was in Los Angeles at Call of Duty Next, and I wasn't one of the few creators who were invited to go along to Treyarchs studio. They went one morning, all the rest of us went to Disneyland. They went one morning, and they had a look around Treyarch Studios. They got to play Modern Warfare Zombies, and then they came back and obviously could tell us about what they'd seen, about what they'd experienced. And all of them were kind of saying like, oh yeah, it's kind of okay. It's not as good as round-based zombies, because a lot of them were big Zombies fans. It's not quite as good as DMZ, because there's no PvP or anything, because a lot of them were sort of DMZ fans. And so everyone kind of came away saying like, there's some good stuff in it, but it didn't seem that amazing. And the impression that I got was, oh, this will be a fun thing, but it's going to lack replayability. You know, it's going to have some missions that once we complete, that's it. Once we've kind of worked out how to get around the map, you know, you've got good at the game, then it'll be too easy and it'll get kind of boring. In a similar way to what happened to Outbreak, you know, Outbreak was a really cool mode in Black Ops Cold War, but once you got good at it, once you knew what you were doing, it was just too easy, things maybe took too long, and there wasn't any real purpose to going back in and playing it more. When you have something like round-based zombies, you can try and get to a higher round than you've ever got to before. Or if there's an Easter egg, you can try and speedrun the Easter egg and see how quickly you can do it. With Modern Warfare Zombies, there just was never anything like that. There were some missions to complete, which I think most people who were interested in the missions are probably about getting to the end of by now. People who are super into zombies finished them like in the first week or so. And then there's some schematics to collect, and there's a bit of RNG in that, which makes them kind of irritating. But they don't take too long to get all of the different schematics. I think, again, it took me a few weeks to get all of those done, even though I had spectacularly bad luck getting Tombstone done. And some of the things they've added, like the secret boss, like the Elder Sigil, Dark Aether, they're just kind of things where there's not much purpose in doing them because they're always exactly the same. You go in, you do the thing that you've already proven you can do, and they are a bit of a challenge the first time you do them, but once you've done them once, you kind of don't have a reason to try them again. There's nothing to work towards, there's nothing to aim for. So a lot of the people I know who were making zombies content kind of stopped. A lot of my friends who were playing zombies kind of stopped just because there wasn't anything pulling them back in to play some more of it. I've been quite vocal that I thought that it needed something like PvP just to give it a bit of randomness, a little bit of replayability, but I know there's lots of people who would hate there to be PvP in there. I thought it'd be cool if they had maybe dark zones like the Division or something like that. That could have made it interesting. But whatever the case, whatever they could have done or they should have done, what ended up happening was that the game released with a set amount of content, and once you finished that, there wasn't really anything else to do in the mode. So all of us, I think, agreed that the big thing that was going to make or break this mode was how quickly they could release content, how much content they'd kept back to kind of drip feed us over the first few seasons, how quickly could they make new content, because like I said, in DMZ, we were constantly getting new missions, we were getting new maps, we got stuff really, really regularly. In Modern Warfare Zombies, that level of new content just hasn't been there. With the beginning of Season 1, we had Act 4, and Act 4 was one mission. And admittedly, it was a kind of a cool mission. You know, you were going into the Dark Aether, you got to fight a boss, which was the same boss from the end of Act 3, which was kind of weird. But anyway, there was a fairly cool new mission, and there was a new cinematic, but there wasn't anything else. There wasn't like a whole set of other new missions. There wasn't really that much story outside of the cinematic. So it felt very lacking, like there was just this one new thing with the new act, and then there was the ability to go into the Dark Aether, and that was just taking us to a place from Al Mazrah, from the previous Warzone map, going into Al Bagra. Felt a little bit strange. I don't think there was ever a good explanation as to why we were just going to Al Bagra. Maybe it's connected to that weird golden skull with the runes on it that we found way, way back at the beginning of DMZ. But anyway, seemed a little bit strange. Seemed almost like they were just reusing a bit of content. And then you had 3 contracts to do in a Dark Aether, and that was kind of it. It just felt very, very sparse. So a lot of people like me were hoping, okay, maybe with Season 1 Reloaded, that's when we'll get some more normal missions, that's when we'll get a mission update, something like that. And no, nothing. We just got Dockerby. We didn't get any new missions, any new cinematic, or anything like that. But still, a lot of people have been hopeful, and like me, I was still pretty hopeful, thinking, okay, this Season 1.5 patch has been pretty terrible, but maybe they're just saving stuff for Season 2. Season 2 will get a new proper act with a load of missions, we'll get a new cinematic and everything like that. I assumed that was going to be the plan. But then something weird happened. With the launch of Season 1 Reloaded, there's a new Boys event, which is pretty cool. There's been a bunch of events. We had a June event last season. There's been a ton of these different events, and one of the cool things about them is that for each of the challenges within the event, you can switch between whether you want to do them in Warzone or multiplayer, or previously you could switch to zombies, and you could have special zombies versions of the challenges. And for the Boys event, there isn't a zombies version. It's like they didn't bother including the zombies mode in it at all. And that seems really strange. If this is your sort of third pillar, if this is the big mode that you're sort of proud of, Modern Warfare 3, why would you not include it in the new event? But then there's what I would say is the kind of most convincing piece of evidence that we're at the end of Modern Warfare Zombies. Treyarch tweeted on January 17th at 10:30 at night UK time, Hashtag Modern Warfare Zombies has been a blast. To celebrate, all players will receive a special guest after finishing a match between today and the start of Season 2. So the interesting thing here is that wording. It has been a blast. Now it would be easy to interpret this as, well, it's been a blast so far. It's been a blast, but there's more to come. But why didn't they say that? They're obviously not hitting up against a Twitter limit or anything like that. This would have been a perfect time to say, it's been a blast, and we can't wait to show you what's coming in Season 2, or it's been a blast and there's still so much more on the way. But they didn't say that, they just left it. Now, of course, this could be just a poor choice of words for the tweet, but if that's what happened, then why, when some really prominent Call of Duty content creators for zombies, like Mr. Waffle Waffles, were immediately saying like, hey, does this mean zombies is over? Why didn't they then either clarify or just take down the tweet? It would have been super easy just to reply to that being like, don't worry, we've got plenty more to show you in the next few months. But nothing, just radio silence. So I think the most obvious way to interpret this is that Treyarch are kind of signing off and saying, well, that was fun, but we're done now. We're kind of packing up and getting ready for the next game. So all three of these things, the Treyarch tweet, the Boys event not having any zombies like objectives in it, and the lack of content in Season 1 Reloaded, seem to add up to me to imply that maybe Modern Warfare Zombies has just been cancelled, or that maybe there was never any content planned for past Season 1 in the first place. Now that doesn't seem likely to me. Like, I think they would have said if they were just planning on doing stuff in Season 1. And I think with most of these Call of Duty things, like with the raids and DMZ, I think they have the idea that it could turn into something bigger, and they'll sort of adopt a wait and see approach of they'll make something that's impressive to release, and then if it gets picked up, if the audience really like it, like with Warzone, they can turn it into something much bigger later on. And, you know, Resurgence obviously turned into quite a big deal. And then if it's something that didn't really grab people's attention, so like Outbreak, like Vanguard Zombies, the Raids, Spec Ops, and DMZ, then they can just stop making content for it when it doesn't make sense to make it anymore. And who can blame them, really? The content for zombies must be incredibly expensive to make. I'm sure I've heard before that one of the most expensive parts in any Call of Duty game is the campaign, mostly because they're having to pay actors, they're having to pay motion capture, having to pay directors. There's like whole extra teams involved in making the cinematics, in doing all of the voice lines and all of the kind of acting in between the gameplay. That's an incredibly expensive thing to do. And Zombies kind of relies on that. In the past, they've done things like swapping out cutscenes for just having still images to tell the story, and sometimes not having proper cinematics at all, like Black Ops Cold War. Remember the end of D Machine, when we finished the Easter egg, got first in the world, may I add, and then we flew away on a helicopter. That was the ending. There was nothing more to it than that. That kind of sucked. So they've obviously experimented with cutting costs before, but with Modern Warfare Zombies, they've decided to do these full, really impressive cinematics. Some of the best cinematics we've had in Call of Duty over the last couple of years. And I think that was something that maybe wasn't sustainable. So maybe they did take that wait and see approach, and then when they released Modern Warfare Zombies, it sort of had a fairly negative reaction, I would say, before release. So from Call of Duty Next to release, lots of people were like, oh, this isn't going to be good. You know, the DMZ crowd weren't happy that it maybe didn't have PvP, it didn't have that much challenge, and that it was seemed to be replacing DMZ. The Zombies crowd weren't really happy that it wasn't round-based, that it seemed to be taking too much from DMZ. And then the content creators who got to play it early all seemed to be a bit like unsure about it. And then when it released, the reception seemed to be fairly good. I would say, as someone who was really invested in it and I wanted to make my main content this year all about Modern Warfare Zombies, that was the original plan. I thought the reception was really good. People seemed to be getting excited about it. Like, we were streaming it from the beginning, and then we saw other content creators start coming back to it after maybe trying it on the first night and they said they didn't really like it, and then they came back to it and got really interested in it. People seemed really excited for that first week or so, but then it trailed off amazingly quickly when Season 1 launched. After the Season 1 launched, quite a lot of content creators hopped on to give it a try again, try out the new stuff, and then, like us, were kind of, oh, we're done after just like a day or two. Like, we've finished all of the content in Season 1. Oh, well, we'll wait for Season 1 Reloaded, and then they all went back to Warzone, or some people went back to DMZ, or people just moved on to other games. People seem to leave it, and at least in my kind of area of awareness, the sort of people I watch and the people I talk to, everyone seemed to kind of move on from it and be, oh, we'll come back to it when something cool gets released. So it felt like not many people were playing. And then with Season 1 Reloaded, obviously there wasn't really enough content in Zombies for people to come back to. I've seen lots of people who I know were super excited about Modern Warfare Zombies who haven't even bothered taking on Dockerbee, because it's like, what's the point? It's kind of a one and done kind of thing. So now we're left with all of those people who were really excited about it kind of trailing off, and the only thing that could be keeping it going is the kind of normal audience, the people who aren't involved in content creation, the people who aren't maybe talking about it online. Are those people still playing the mode? We have no real way of knowing. Anecdotally, I have heard from viewers on streams saying that they've been playing Modern Warfare Zombies on and off since launch, and lately they've been going into lobbies that are mostly empty. It's taking a long while to matchmake. You know, that when they've got into games, they'll only see one or two other real people. It's felt very, very empty, and that's kind of what started happening to DMZ. I noticed in Season 5 of DMZ that I was coming across the same players in game after game. And not because anyone was stream sniping me, I wasn't that big of a deal for anyone to do that, but just because there weren't other people playing. If I queued up at the same time as friends when we were doing some of those annoying solo challenges, if we did that, we nearly always got into the same game together, because I just don't think there were many people playing the game. DMZ took 5 seasons to get there, but I think Modern Warfare Zombies kind of speedran it by just not having that replayability. And I'm still going to maintain that PvP would have made a big difference. If people could go in there and fight zombies while also trying to fight off enemy players and things like that, it could have been a really exciting, different mode. And PvP, by its very nature, doesn't require as much new content to keep it interesting. Because every time you play, you know, you don't know who you're going to be up against, you don't know what those fights are going to be like. That could have kept it interesting for a long time. Or they needed to release loads of content, which they just didn't. So, to me at least, it looks like maybe Modern Warfare Zombies is just kind of over. I'm hoping, after I put this video out, someone from Treyarch will notice, they'll notice me tweeting about it, and someone will just say, hey, let's put a tweet out just saying, hey, look forward to Season 2 for more Zombies missions or more Zombies story or something like that, maybe. But I really do believe that maybe the people at Treyarch who were working on this are now just working on the next game. And right now, officially, we don't really know much about the next game. Those of you who know me know I'm not interested in leaks or data mines or anything like that. We know it's a Treyarch game, so it's very likely to have round-based zombies. They kind of hinted at COD Next that the next game would have round-based zombies in it, so I think that's a fairly safe bet. And I wouldn't be surprised if they want kind of all hands on deck to get that finished. Maybe development of that is taking longer than they thought. Maybe they're expanding it because of the initial good reception to Modern Warfare Zombies, and they just want sort of as many developers as possible on it. Because I don't think Treyarch's actually a huge studio, so the resources they'll be spending on Modern Warfare Zombies are probably very, very valuable, and they could be better used maybe on their main mode. Maybe they're going to sort of adapt Modern Warfare Zombies into a kind of Outbreak 2, and they're going to use some of the stuff they learned from it, some of those kind of DMZ aspects, and they're going to try and attach it to the next game. But whatever happens, I feel like we've gone from waiting for more zombies content thinking, oh, it'll be the next season or it'll be the next patch, to maybe thinking the next piece of zombies content could be like October or November when the new game comes out. Anyway, that's all that I know. That's all I've been thinking about. Obviously, this is a lot of speculation. Let me know what you think. Is Modern Warfare Zombies finished? If you're a developer, if you're working at one of the studios, please get Treyarchs to put out a tweet and say that this whole video is a load of nonsense and that actually Modern Warfare Zombies is continuing, it's healthy, it's going to have new missions and stuff like that coming in Season 2. I would prefer to hear that and have this whole video be a waste of time rather than the alternative and for me to be right and for Modern Warfare Zombies to basically be dead. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.